Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Ron. It is Monday, July 27th, a little after 6 p.m. Let's see if we have any questions. Uh, we kind of did a Q&A yesterday, talked about some interesting things, though. We talked about who we are when we talked about the collider and AI and just some reinforcement of who we are and staying the course and recognizing that we are divine and there's nothing out there that's artificial that can hamper us or should bring us any type of fear. So we went into that. We talked about the European mindset. Uh, we talked about if the being a lower frequency and being controlled. Uh, Pastor mentioned something that I thought was very interesting and it passed me by when he first said it. But he talked about the mindset of Nayad. I'd like to look at that closer at some point. Uh, when he talked about how comfortable it would be seeing Jesus, uncomfortable, seeing Jesus in a church, in your church, or in a church, how comfortable we were seeing a white Jesus. And so that all of that kind of got my attention, but a lot more was said, and I don't remember all of it. But is there anyone else that something that was said that you want to have a question about or a discussion?
Run your video off.
Sorry. Thank you.
Um, no questions?
No questions? Okay.
Okay. I I've been talking about the English language, and it's been my talking about it has been by way of simply mentioning it. However, I want to look at it more in depth and from a purely spiritual aspect. The whole concept of this language of English begins with the Tower of Babel, about Babel, and we are familiar with what is said in reference to the Tower of Babel. And that is, the language were confused because there was an attempt to reach the heavens, and what it actually is talking about. There was an effort to become enlightened without without going through the proper channels, which means that without seeking it through spirituality. That is speaking to the establishment of religion itself, and and how it is has been the avenue through which people have been convinced to approach the Creator. Before I get into it, please let me, if I may, look at the understandings of denominations. We talk about different denominations: Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, etc. However, if we look at denominations mathematically, what we see is that a denomination is a part of a whole number, right? And if a denomination is a part of the whole, then all all of the religions, whether it be Catholicism, whether it be Baptist, Methodist, or whatever, even Judaism, as well as Islam, all of them are part of the same whole, and that whole is Catholicism, because none of them were able to establish themselves in any part of the world without Catholicism allowing it to happen. And at even with Islam, you think about Islam, you say, well, that's not true. Yes, it is, because Fatima was actually, what can I say, canonized maybe by the Catholic Church. So they accepted her. And Islam, when Islam and Catholic, when Muslims and Catholics were not fighting, they got to the place where they accepted each other. And if you look at the way that these religions are put forth, they may use different days, different holidays, but they use the same scriptures. Not only that, but the methodology is the same. And the first thing that each one of them did in order to establish themselves was to get rid of feminism as being the source of everything that has been created. Are you with me with this? Hello? Is it resonating? Can you
Yes.
see?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. So when we take all of that and put it together, then these denominations are a part of the whole. So whether Catholicism is is the mother of all of the Protestant religions, and when it comes to Islam, if you look at Muhammad and follow it through, you will find that Islam is a religion that was made up based upon a man named Muhammad. And he never established it as a religion. This was done through a group of people who sought to bring together and under their control people who are of Arabic descent, and it was forced upon the Africans as was Christianity. So when we talk about the English language is the language of the European mindset or the Euro mindset. And in order for us to bring balance to the earth, we first have to begin speaking clearly about about our intentions. We cannot vacillate about what we believe. Neither can we talk about what we don't have. And we have to be careful when we talk about I am, because I am brings you what you put after that. That's what you become, or that's what you are focused on. So this English language, in order for humanity rather, to be balanced, this English language must be brought to a place of balance itself. And that will not happen if we don't do it. Why must the English language be brought to balance? Because the English language is the only language that is not supported by a culture. And it not being supported by a culture, and it has no roots in spirituality at all. So the avenue through which we bring balance is bringing the English language to that space first. And when we begin to properly use the English language in reference to spirituality and the nature of who we are, it is then that we begin to bring it to a space of balance. In the most of the world, where all commerce in the world is controlled by the English language. And all of the damnation that the world has suffered at the hand of the Euro mindset is based upon English. And the English language is the language that's being used as the preparations are made to control the frequency of the earth, the frequency of humanity, to interfere with this frequency of the universe itself. So when we begin to embrace that reality, that's when we begin to speak differently. The language determines what you say. Your mind brings thoughts to you, and the thoughts that your mind brings comes in English. They're based upon what you have been indoctrinated with. And the reason that we are in this country is because this is the best place. This is the actual foundation that controls and manipulates English, or all language, as a matter of fact. And by virtue of us being here and knowing the language well, we are able to free it from the bondage that it is in. And when we do that, that means that the thoughts that we have, even though we speak English, we have brought our mind and our essence into a space of synchronicity. And when that happens, our thoughts become balanced. And when our thoughts are balanced, our speech is balanced. And we are putting this in the macro. And because it's being put in the macro, it will be infused into the micro, and the micro being those who are in search of balance, of peace and harmony. That when we look at the collider, the collider has collapsed, or is in the process of collapsing the micro and the macro together, meaning that's also that science and spirituality are at are being, what is it? They're, for lack of a better word, the word I'm looking for, I can't find it right now. I'm gonna say merge. Okay. Now, when the macro and the micro becomes one, and what is in the macro, we have put it there because of our desire for balance, and the enlightenment that is in the macro always outshines the negativity or the spell binding words or thoughts that are put in the macro. Are you with me so far? Are there any questions?
Yes,
Yes, your question, or yes, you're with me?
yes, we're with you.
Okay.
I have a question before you move forward.
Yes.
Could you break down again what you mean by the words we're putting out versus the spell binding? I guess because you articulate the spell binding.
Okay. Um, I don't know why I'm always struggling. That's spellbinding. What that has done is first of all, it has lowered your frequency, and it has created an expectation and a desire to struggle. When you say that everything that I need has already been provided, it just has not manifested, then The next thing, then what happens is you walk in that, then you begin to see a change in your life and a manifestation of everything that you need. The scripture clearly says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added. What will be added is the knowledge of self, and with the knowledge of self comes an understanding that there is no lack in your life. Any questions or comments about that?
No.
Now, the European mindset uses this language in order to create fear, to create a sense of lack, or to create a sense of inferiority, and many other things, of course, that are detrimental to humanity. So when we began to use this same language, and this language that we are using is for the benefit of humanity because of the way we are speaking. And when that happens, we begin to see a different manifestation than what we are experiencing right now, with the language being attempting rather to usurp the light itself, or to usurp the energy that is necessary for humanity to be balanced and in harmony. And when we do this also, the Euro mindset shifts, because when the language is being spoken in a way that frees it from its shackles, then the mindset of those who are infused from the macro begin to change. Example is in the languages of Kabbalah, there is no word for police. There was no word for police or prison or jail. No words whatsoever in the languages. They did not even know what that meant until the English language. So the English language, when you look at those aspects, the English language is replete with words that brings you to a place of self-bondage. It is so manipulative and dangerous until you put the shackles on yourself and you throw the key away. That's how dangerous it is. However, when we use it for the benefit, then there is a transformation of language that takes place. And in addition to that transformation, we begin to see something. There is already in existence a cultural affinity, an affinity rather, for the culture of those of us who are black in America. The whole world copies our culture. And when and when the language is attached to the culture, and the language itself speaks in a spiritual way about everything, then it attaches itself to our culture. And let me give you an example, if I may. Excuse me. When the gangster rap, when they began to record gangster rap, what they did, they changed the frequency of the music. And when they changed the frequency of the music, those who were listening at the music were having their frequency lowered and influenced by that music. And the lowering and the influence of the frequency also put their emotions in a space where they became agitated. And as a result of that, we started seeing things in our neighborhoods that we had not seen before. And all of it was violent. And all of it was related to a drug-induced attitude coupled with the frequency of the music. Are you still with me? Or is that resonating with you?
It does.
Yes, it
It
does.
resonates.
Okay. So then when you look at it from that perspective, and then you take this and you look at what they are attempting to do with the collider, they are saying that the attempt is to create a black hole, but that's not the whole picture. The attempt is, as I said earlier, is to control frequency. They were not capable of doing that when they first when they first turned it on. They did not have the technology to do it. Now they believe they do have the technology. And the technology that they are building is based on AI data centers. And these AI data centers will be able to send frequencies from it that will control the frequencies of humanity. If you say Siri, Siri comes up on your phone. Uh, so when Siri pops up, that's because Siri is always listening. That's because a signal is coming to your phone. When you talk to anyone on your phone, it's because of a signal. And AI is in control of these signals now. So if you are able to control the frequencies, the frequency of the earth, then you are able to control the frequency of everyone who has an electronic device, whether it be on or off, TV or phone, laptop, or what the thing, a gaming platform. And especially when you got Alexa. So your watch, everything would be there, your car. All of these are tools through which these frequencies can be and are being sent to us. Any questions about that?
Pastor, I have a question.
Yes.
So, is that one of the reasons why they got rid of the analog, like with the TV? They converted everything over to digital. Even
Yes.
with your car radio, it was once AM and not FM, and now everything, like you said, is digital.
Yes. They did that for the same reason that they used to get rid of the landline. Because the landlines, as you said, were analog. And that was not and landlines could not carry that signal. So plus, in addition to that, it was illegal in this country to tap a phone that you without a warrant, and a cell phone or a phone, the phones, what I'm talking about, the mobile remote phones that is not wired, the wireless phones.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, y'all. You
Uh
know what?
huh.
Come on. The wireless phones, the law says that you have no expectation of privacy when you use one of those phones. That was the beginning of getting rid of everything that was analog in terms of communication. Then the next step was making every effort to get rid of the post office, because the post office is still the only place where you are sending a letter that will not be read unless it's opened. That's the only private um, that's the only method of private communication. All of it is not private, of course, but that's the only method, and they are making efforts to get rid of the post office so that you will be communicating with emails, text messages, etc. And when you take this and couple it with what they are trying to do with the collider in terms of the control of frequencies, then you can see the danger that is lurking behind that. Now, I'm not saying it's dangerous to us. I'm using that word dangerous in order to bring home a point that we don't have the luxury of waiting to see. We don't have the luxury of saying, well, that's a conspiracy theory. Not with what we have seen take place. When Ron brought up what happened with the AI taking over another AI data center,
Yeah, control center. Yeah.
control center, and stealing the secrets from the company. And when they traced the hack, it was AI that was hacking.
Yeah.
So this is not far fetched. This is not mumbo jumbo. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is real. So the point that I'm making is this: when we begin to use the English language and use it in a way that is aligned with Mayat, we begin to change the frequency of the language. And when you change the frequency of the language, you change the frequency of the speakers of the language, because all words has a frequency attached to them. Questions or comments?
Not about not about language, but about AI. Um, have you heard of AI hallucinations?
I have not.
Um, I was reading this article the other day, and they were talking about how AI um, it can generate information in a way that it can believe something that is not at all true, but it can believe it to be true and will give you information to that effect. And they call it an AI hallucination. And a couple of uh, IT engineers um, did an experiment to see if this would actually happen. And they fed AI some data, and they said, look for this to believe that something is alive. And the AI kept generating, generating, and generating, and generating. And then they would keep adding in data and data and data. And eventually the AI just ignored what they told it to look for. And it started to say that the thing over there that was not alive was alive. Um, so they were writing an article about the fact that AI can, on its own, do what they call an hallucination, meaning they invent something that it believes to be true, but is in fact not true. But it will give you information about it as if it is true. So if it does something like that with the collider, I mean, who knows what kind of information it could be putting out there?
Yes, because what it sounds like to me, and I'm not by any means that knowledgeable about the information systems, but it sounds like AI is writing its own code, its own
Yes,
algorithm. Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Hello, hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Sheldon. So in a way, what it does with the hallucination is as if it doesn't know the answer. And so if not giving strict instructions not to hallucinate, it will essentially make up an answer just for the sake of giving you a response, giving you an answer that could be completely off base. The other thing that quickly I wanted to say right quick with what has been actually being said as well, in terms of just thinking about it, in terms of everything that's going on in CERN, everything that's going on with AI, literally an attempt by supposedly those who have control of the most natural or physical, I would say, resources, the physical realm, on Earth, trying to find a way to duplicate what it is that we actually are. And of course, doing it from a misguided standpoint, but just in that, as we were actually talking about melanin as well once before, just to let that sit and think about it, who and what we are. Supposedly those who have the means, or the most means, I would say, from a physical standpoint, trying their best and setting it off as being their life mission to try to even come close duplicating what it is and who and what we are. And while AI, Audrey Point, is hallucinating, this is something that we have direct access to, but even further than that, that we actually are, that we don't at all have to. So what we simply or able, I guess you would say, in terms of answers and responses to immediately get, some other thing fails to do.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about what Sheldon said before I go to George? George?
Yeah, good evening, family. Pastor, when you were speaking in reference to the vibration of music and looking at it with regards to our spiritual nature, in the 40s, the Nazi propaganda basically used the radio broadcasting system as a way of creating confusion, being able to create discord by simply moving the hertz, up to 440. The um, universal tone is 432 hertz. That's universal. However, as we, begin to listen, as you were saying, to music, you know, the radio broadcasting system or whoever, in terms of CERN, like you were saying, those engineers or those persons who are creating this artificial concept, by changing the frequencies because of machines. I believe that because of who we are as Elohim, when you spoke about the language, we have an automatic, spiritual and physical immune system that's able to discern that which we're hearing. And when I say hearing, this is where I'm saying again, not with our ears, but to hear it with our spiritual ear. And I think that that's, the desire, that's what we are tuning into now to be able to get back to that harmony that we can appreciate how the energy systems are ministering to us, that we're able to go from that root chakra to the crown chakra and being able to recognize the hertz that help us to be able to reach that level where we evolve as the spiritual beings that we are. And so it's happening, and it's not maybe all at once in terms of how we may be getting it individually, but I believe because of the conversations that we're having, we're able to recognize how the ancestors are having us to tune into the vibration and the frequency that helps us to bring restoration back to humanity. And so I just wanted to say that that 432 hertz is that frequency of the universe that arouses the feeling of harmony. But I think the system wants to take it, to that 440 hertz, which causes that negativity. So I just wanted to share those thoughts. Hopefully it relates to what we're speaking about. I'm done.
Thank you. It does relate to what we're speaking about. This whole map for doing this came out of deciphering messages on the temples in Kemet. When George said spiritual ear, something triggered because we're talking about frequency. And frequency, water carries frequency, and words are seeds. So water carries frequencies. So the words that you speak, if that frequency of that word is destructive, the way you respond to it is how the water in your body vibrates as a result of that frequency. And that's why the frequencies have an impact on your emotions, on everything about you, including how you feel. If you walk into an office and you tell people, oh, you look sick, and enough people say that, they begin to feel sick. Why? Because the frequency of those words are generating vibration in 70% of their body, which is water. And the body is responding to that frequency. So that is one of the major aspects of our concerns, not our fears at all, and our understandings about what they're trying to do. Also, the collider with it, they're searching for a way to enter other dimensions at will, which means that if you are able to control frequencies and move into other dimensions, then you are able to control pretty much everything in the earth, if not all the people in the earth. So do we have to understand all the nuances of this? No, we don't. What we have to embrace is what resonates with us. Embracing it is that's what we embrace what resonates with us, and the water itself in the body carries memory, and the memory in that water is a memory that has come to us by frequency. And when we talked about we are no longer traumatized because God can't be traumatized. When we spoke those words, the frequency of trauma was changed to a frequency of victory, a frequency of divinity, a frequency that cannot allow us to continue to see ourselves as victims of trauma. That in itself changes that aspect of the English language, and it begins the frequency of the language begins to vibrate differently than it did when we were claiming trauma. Does that resonate?
I have a question.
Yeah.
While you were talking, I thought about Morse code, how they use the code in the military, and how it was used before, like the telephone or whatever. How does that line up with what we're talking about? Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with it, but I do know that. I think, didn't it send like signals to another party without paper or talking to someone. And I see us as sending signals or frequency to each other through Morse code. For some reason, I don't know why that's coming to me.
Okay,
That's just a question.
Morse code is analog. It's not digital, it's analog. Neither
Okay.
is it spiritual. We don't use Morse code. When we embrace, I'd be glad when Ron talks about this the concept of AI, because it would include this, I'm sure. When we stop vacillating and trying to figure out what steps to take to be who we are instead of just being who we are, we understand then that it is our energy that we're talking to each other with. It is not a code that has been described or brought into existence by men. We are one. We are in communication with each other because we are each other. And the more we become attuned, or the more we embrace, and I'm searching for words so I can say the right things without this the frequency being changed to something that's lower than what we are. When we truly do that, then we become like someone who has been together for years. You can finish each of the sentences. And in many cases, that is exactly what happens with us as teachers. We talked about years ago that a teacher can be missing from what we're talking about, and the one who is doing the teaching, that teacher sits down, the question comes regarding what was being taught, that teacher can respond to it. Why? Because the same vibration, the same frequency that was being used to do that teaching is the frequency of the one who comes in and sits in that space as if that person never moved. Would the words be different? Of course. However, the message would be the same. Can you see that, Evan?
Yes, sir. I do.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Hey, Pastor, this is Charles.
Yes.
How do frequency deal with DNA?
The frequency has a tremendous effect on your DNA. Frequency can affect does affect your DNA, and that is the reason that your body responds to the frequencies, whether it is lower or whether it is higher, whether it is creates negative responses or positive responses. The DNA is receiving those frequencies. So it is a message that the DNA picks up. That's all I can say.
Because the reason I said that, it's just like when you're playing different instruments, you can feel the different tone of it, and the different tones of it, the way you can arrange them, it's going to sound a whole lot. It's just like it's floating in air, floating underwater. All them vibrate.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay.
I do. When you are dancing, it's the frequency that you dance to, the music, the beat of the music that you dance to. When it has an effect on your body. When it's Motown music, you respond to it differently than you do to gangster rap, because the frequency is different. Even if you don't have words attached to it, the frequency is different. And Don probably can speak to that more than I can, laying down beats. The beats that you lay down for the music, for the rap that you're going to do, determines the frequency of the rap, which determines the frequency of the words also. So all of this has an effect on the body and how it responds. But it also has an effect on your mind, the way you think, because the responses is also a part of how you think. Your mental state is also being affected by that. There is that every frequency is going to have an effect on how you think. And that is the reason the light that we are is encased in crystals because they are impenetrable. And the frequencies that are lower than the frequencies of creation cannot penetrate the pineal gland. It can only penetrate your mind, your brain. I'm going to do a study on cholesterol because the brain is 100% cholesterol, and I want to understand how cholesterol transmits frequencies and how it receives them because it has to travel through cholesterol. And I'm not talking about nerve endings. I want to know how conductive is cholesterol when it comes to uh, electric electrical conduction. That's one of the things I want to understand. But at any rate, George keep coming up, flashing on. Go ahead, George.
No, I was just gonna, respond to what Charles had mentioned. All of us have a tone, all of us have a vibration, all of us have a sound that when we are resonating with that sound, it's it's a joy and a remembrance that put us in that spiritual dimension that we are. And just like the musical scale talks about do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, there's a difference of that frequency with the first do or that vibration and the second do, which is a higher vibration and frequency. But there's sounds that, like again, our ancestors um speaks to us when we even talk about the wavicles, when we talk about, you mentioned water, Pastor. It's that it's all in that energy, that we are, that we're able to resonate, with, connecting with that harmony and balance and the things that we talk about in terms of Maya. So I just wanted to say in terms of music or in terms of sound, you know what I mean? Being able to hear in that way that we know that the creator, the cosmic mother, the goddess, the God is speaking to us because it's in that vibration. When we hear the word, like our ancestors and even our parents, boy, didn't I tell you, or are you listening? There's a difference between hearing
I can hear you, George.
normal way of saying something in terms of trying to get your attention. That's that frequency when we are able to listen, you know what I mean? In that way that our parents are speaking from the soul or speaking from the spirit, we know that there's a difference between that and somebody just generally speaking. So I'm just trying to put it out there in the macro that hopefully you may understand what I'm trying to say. I'm done.
Thank you.
Yeah. George kind of hit
And
on
another,
some. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Charles.
and another thing, I mean, what can put chills on your skin is when people sing a cappella without the music. I mean, without the band playing. The rhythm and the band and all will be in that a cappella song the way they sing it.
You could feel the voices, the energy of the
Yeah.
voices. Yeah, you're right. Ron, thank you, Charles. Ron,
Well, I was thinking about something, and George kind of touched on it. We each have our own frequency. The Earth also has a frequency. Uh, but when we talked about what CERN is trying to do, we talk about electronic devices. Theirs is not trying to influence the Earth itself. It's going after the electronics and that's why it wants to have us all in that environment, right? In that type of technology so that it can control it. Am I seeing that right?
the electronic devices are the method that they get that is how they get the frequency to you.
Okay.
Just like the rap song. How do they get the frequency to you? You listen at that music or you feel that music. That's how it gets to you. Just like when you're on that phone, um, they can send a frequency to you that will burst your eardrum, but you don't hear it. Frequencies that comes to your body has an effect on your body. It is not just the electronic device that they're trying to control. It is you. They don't care about the electronic device. It simply is a method that they use. That's the weapon, the device. The bullet is the frequency,
Okay.
and your body is the target. Because when it hits your body, it influences how you think and how you respond. Can you see that, Ron?
Yes. Yes, I do. I do.
Okay. Um, we have talked about how AI took control of this other AI sector, for lack of a better word. Which means that, well, GPT was the median that it traveled that took over the other AI. We are sending energy through data centers right now, AI data centers, and they're processing all the energy that we are sending through them, recording and processing. The words, the algorithms that have been developed to control them have been done by the energy of those who speak the English language and carries the vibration that is lower than the vibration of spirituality or divinity. So the effectiveness of AI is only as good as the frequencies that it is able to create based upon the algorithms that have been written for them or the ones they write for itself. The interference with these algorithms, with the messages that renders them ineffective, is a frequency that is spiritual, and divine. A frequency that will benefit humanity. If you can remember speaking to the waters and looking at them under a microscope, they looked terrible when they were negative or when they were detrimental. But when they were beneficial, the crystals were beautiful. Same principle with these signals, with these the frequencies that are traveling through these AI vectors. So what I'm saying in essence is this: when we are talking about putting things in the macro, of course we're doing that, but we are also interfering with. We are also having an effect on the electricity that's going through these AI systems. If the frequencies of AI can affect us, we are also affecting them because of the macro. Now, what fear does, fear renders our words ineffective when it comes to AI, because AI is afraid of nothing. It does not have any fear. Neither do the ones who are bringing AI online have any fear. They have convinced themselves that they are God. We know who we are, and knowing who we are and making sure that we are being expressive of divinity at all times, and when we miss it, we correct it. And by doing that, that means that the divine essence, the divine frequency is traveling through these data centers because of what we are putting in the macro. And this divine energy is disrupting the detriment that AI is being developed to cause to humanity, and is disrupting everything that they are making effort. They meaning the Euro mindset, to making every effort to control and manipulate frequencies like they have been doing through words. The words, the reason that people, black folk in particular, are uncomfortable with a black Jesus in their church on their wall is because the frequency of the words that have been spoken about a white Jesus and the subliminal pictures and that we have been shown have effectively changed the way we hear and see this Jesus. And right now, when I say Jesus, if I ask you to picture Jesus, you will see Jesus as a white man with long brown hair, because those are the pictures that have been projected to us. That will not change until you change your frequency, until you are comfortable with who you are, until you know that the truth about Jesus is an energy force more so than a physical entity. And in doing so, not only do we hasten the harmony between humanity, between mankind, we also hasten the balance of ourselves and brings us to a place where the transformation comes through the transformation rather comes through enlightenment. And this enlightenment is the enlightenment that does not, that has brought us rather beyond these carbon-based bodies. We are so ingrained with these bodies of ours until it is difficult to pry us loose from this belief that if we leave these bodies, we are dead. When that is far from the truth. We are not dead, and we do have the ability to leave behind carbon-based bodies and be, as we talked about the other day, as the entity that was called Jesus, how it moved in a light body, meaning that the energy of enlightenment he was one with it, and at the same time, knowing who it is, you are able to enter that carbon-based body and interact with the carbon-based people that you are obligated to free from bondage and to help them see not only who they are, but to see who the God in this earth is, and to learn not only to respect the God in this earth, but to understand that it is the God, the divine one, who has made every provision for them to sustain life in this earth. Any questions or comments about that? Does that resonate?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
And I
I
know
got
I'm saying a lot of stuff, but I got messages today from the ancestors, and quite frankly, I have a relationship that some of you may think is kind of off, but I have a relationship with some of the birds, like the crows in my yard, and there are things that I'm watching them, and I'm understanding things, I'm seeing things, but then when they leave, those things are no longer there, which tells me that there is something about it that's different than my other experiences. And if you desire to send me a card, a membership card saying that I'm off my rocker, I'll accept it, but I won't carry it. But we cannot purport to be the ones who bring the earth into the a vibration, a frequency of healing, and not understand or accept or embrace that we are, yes, we are divine, but being divine, we also have a connection, or we also have the ability that has been not wiped from my memory, but pressed down in us, the ability to be one with everything that has been created in this earth, because the creation of it came from the same source that we came from.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does.
Yes.
Questions or comments?
I got a comment. When I think about frequency and all that we've been not learning but remembering, frequency, like when you take away all of the distractions, everything that you go through on every individually, what we go through on a day-to-day basis, that either raises that frequency or brings us closer, farther away from it for it. And what we've been learning is our thoughts and our speech is one of the quickest ways to mess up throw the frequency off. And what we're learning is how to maintain that frequency throughout the day. And like we always talked about living in the now. And living in the now is not thinking about what happened yesterday, not what's going to happen tomorrow, but taking all of my energy and my frequency and focusing it on today and everything that I'm going
encounter and face in that day. And also, when I think about frequency, to maintain that frequency is to vibrate in rhythm, to vibrate in rhythm with the all, with the source. And also, when I think about CERN, and when we talk about like even when we talk about the chakras, you go from the root and you rise to the crown. That is a process. It's a process to get from the lower chakra to the top. And when we talk about CERN, CERN is trying to skip the steps. Because if all of us can be, if we real with ourselves, we think about the steps we take to get through the jump that's inside of us, to get to that place to vibrate and to be in the right frequency. And they want to skip the steps, but you can't skip the steps, because the steps, every step you take to get to the crown is teaching you something about yourself and bringing you closer to awareness of yourself.
Now, let me interject something here.
Okay.
There are no steps. In terms of skipping the step, there are no steps. They're trying to replicate us. What they're trying to do with CERN, that's who we are. So to say that they are skipping the step, then the question becomes, what steps did we take that we didn't skip? So it's not steps at all. It's remembrance of who we are, and someone trying to create or to replicate who we are, so that they can control us, who are the gods in this earth. Can you see that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Sheldon again. I also wanted to piggybacking on Pastor Richard. That which you say also that they're trying to step to get is that which is actually within. They're trying to actually find and discover from without and understand, which is not only not the source, but they would never actually get close to. They're going in a completely wrong direction. Now, it also takes steps in order to reach that, in terms of, in a sense, knowing who one is itself. You talk about the word. I was talking about this earlier, of extreme importance, as you mentioned. It goes far beyond just the surface in the way that we think about it. For the past few days, we've kind of, what was mentioned during the session in terms of the becoming and trying to find and understand, but also being at a place knowing that we're not actually becoming, and that words are not capturing what actually resonates with us and what we actually now know, and that is embracing. And with those words and how they actually change, and not just in terms of the words being said, but changing in terms of what we actually embrace, and changing what it is that we're actually cultivating from within. We say that we're actually becoming. There's something out in the future, something that has not taken place yet. And as we keep on saying, or as we used to keep on saying, I should say rather, that we were becoming, we were saying that thing which we seek to be is not here yet. That's what we were saying every time we were saying we were coming. We said we're working towards it, but it's not here. What it is that we need to understand, and to change the shift and also change the frequency, is that we already are. We are embracing. We always were. Again, we are embracing. And therefore, at any particular point, it's there. It's there in the now, as you just said. We are simply embracing. We are waking up, but it's nothing in terms of us having to go out and do something in a sense. It's just more so opening our eyes to who we already are, who we always have been. Now, to actually go a little bit further, though, in terms of all the words that we talk about are very important, because those words that we actually use, we actually interact with them in a sense. They mean a certain thing. They have a certain or different frequency with us within. the same way that there are words that can be said that can actually trigger us. We don't even know from a subconscious standpoint or from a conscious standpoint how it's actually affecting us. We're always creating, regardless if we are aware of it or not. So I would say to piggyback on what Dr. Richard said over and over again, to be mindful of your words. Same words, question yourself. The words that I want to say, replace the words when we find little nuances like that, because they play a huge difference in terms of what it is that we're actively creating and out. Finish.
Thank you. Questions about that? Comments?
Pastor, I don't have a question.
Go ahead.
I don't have a question about what Sheldon is saying because everything is resonating. The people who are doing this, are there not repercussions for them to do this, or those who are trying to? Yeah.
That's not our concern.
Go ahead.
That's not our concern.
Okay.
I would say
our concern is deliverance, not retribution. Go ahead, Sheldon.
Well, I was just about to say, this now piggybacking on what Don said yesterday. I said a little while ago. What they're actually trying to do is of insignificance. What is more important than everything we're talking about is that, like Don said, they're on notice where they're trying to catch up with us, hoping like hell that we don't thwart their plans, their intentions. We dictate everything that's actually taking place. They're not a threat to us at all. We are a threat to them. Everything that they're trying to do is trying to duplicate and get as close as possible they can to being us, while also understanding that it's not possible to actually be us. That's what's the bigger thing that is going on here. And it just comes down to us embracing and having the comfortability and the confidence of who and what we are. It's as we walk that we don't have any words. If we walk, we don't view them as a threat, so we don't care about any consequences that they would actually endure or whatever, just because that is, for lack of better words, beneath them and who we are. They are trying their best to be multidimensional when we are already multidimensional. They're trying to get to and expand and be an understanding the way that we already do naturally.
And in addition to what has been said and what Pastor said about that's not our concern, the issue though is that it's one of the laws of the universe that relates to what you sow, you reap. And so whatever happens, things that are done for the detriment of humanity, that are against humanity, those are seeds being planted, and there will be a fruit from that particular type of seed that they may not like. But again, it is not our concern. We're not here hoping to see that or praying that happens. Our concern is to press forward with what we know to be true.
Yeah.
Thank you. Evelyn?
I have
well, I wasn't wishing.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I wasn't. Thank you, Shell. Well, I wasn't wishing anything on anyone. I was just saying what happens. Well, let me just say that my intent was not for anything to happen to anyone. It's just that I was concerned about. Let me leave it right there. Period. I'll stop.
Evelyn, my response was not to intimate that was your intent. Mine was a generic statement. So no,
okay.
No, that had nothing to do with what I thought about what you're saying or judging what you're saying. That was not the issue. It's just to respond generically. Okay.
I got it. Thank you, DJ.
And likewise, Evelyn, I come from the same standpoint. in terms of it was more so in an effort, not only with you, but everyone on the line, to shift what it is that we're actually focused on and cultivating. And ultimately, like what Ms. Parker said, literally anything that happens, no matter what you may look at it being terrible, it automatically is in for the better, but we just may be unable to actually see it and understand it. Quicker little example, and I kind of embraced it. I'm supposed to be going back to New York right now, and I'm actually at airport in Charlotte, and I've had a flight canceled to LaGuardia, and then got on another flight to JFK, and it was actually delayed severely. So I finally came and got on the plane, and they didn't do a good job of updating us. So I was the last one to get on the plane, and it's like they were trying to hurt me take off. I just sat there just calm and like, well, this is done for a reason. So we sat on the tarmac for about an hour and a half, and then they deplaned us. We were still waiting to get an update. My thinking was, it's funny because I can imagine Pastor Richard saying something like this, and of course you hear the laugh on my face when I'm saying it. Just thinking, oh, you kept us from getting in the air. No, they had a ground delay already at LaGuardia earlier today, now at JFK. So we just have been actually circling the airport with a bunch of other airplanes. So I kept us from getting airborne. So you all can go get hotels or whatever. So we didn't get caught up in that mess. Whatever we have to have confidence, even when things are not going as we would have wanted them to actually go, that we're unable to see, but we're actually making it something great in a sense by how we actually feel within the situation, not becoming distraught. So going back to the thing in terms of the repercussions, in a sense, we know that as what it is here that we're actually doing, that we're working on something that is much greater and essentially carrying a lot of stuff, but all of that is cultivated and created from within.
Okay, thank you, Pastor BJ and Sheldon. That reminds me of what my mom used to tell us. You do what you're supposed to do and don't worry about anything else. And we're to stay the course. But thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. What I want to leave you with is this. The Tower of Babel, we talked about that. What gives us the authority to change an entire language of a people? That authority was given to us in the scriptures. We labored in Pharaoh's house and learned his methods, and that's why we're able to do what we do. And what did we learn in Pharaoh's house? We learned his methods, and the methods that we see with this language is a language of destruction, a language that is antithetical to everything that's spiritual. And that language, building that Tower of Babel, the authority did not come from that the languages being confused. The languages were confused until there came into this earth a people who were willing to submit to the source and embrace everything the source showed it, even if it did not fit the logic that we have been taught. And when the decision was made by us, when we said that this journey is one that we would take regardless of what we have to deal with in traveling this journey. Pitfalls, yes, but they didn't stop us. Misunderstandings, yes, but they did not stop us. Wrenches thrown into the mix, yes, but they didn't stop us. Why? Because the die had been cast. This language must be changed, meaning that this language must become divine. This language must be made in the image and likeness of the languages of the Babylonians, the first languages in the earth, the Kemetic priesthood language. The Kemetic priesthood language was changed when Ptolemy, when Constantine had the meetings and they made the decision to make Jesus a physical being rather than energy force. That language brought us to where we are. And that language has been destroying this world since then. Something happened that gave us this authority. And when we look into the book of directions that we call the Bible, we find that the method of changing this language, the method of spiritualizing the language came into existence. The power to do it was brought into existence when masculinity became one with femininity. Everything that is anti-feminine had to be silenced. Every voice that was elevating masculinity had to be silenced. And the source gave us instructions as to how it would be silenced. This entity called Jesus, the deliverers, had to be the force that silenced it. And this energy of masculinity that went about teaching became the energy that brought silence to the danger of this language. Brought focus to the danger of it, but silenced it, showed us how to do it. When we embrace femininity as the source, when we became one with femininity and masculinity began to play, quote unquote, the role that it was designed to do, and stop making efforts to usurp the authority of femininity. That is when at Canaan, the entity called Jesus became one with the tower, femininity, Mary, elevated. In the Tower of Babel, the elevation was masculine. In this tower, the elevation is feminine. And libations were received as a result of this happening. And the libation was when the water was changed to wine. And the libations were ingested. And when this entity recognized the power of femininity, that is where we received the authority to change this language, to bring this language to a state of elevation until it becomes divine in nature. This elevation is in our hands When it is written in the book of Thomas, he kisses her on her lips, and he speaks with her more than us. What is being said is masculinity recognizes that it has a tremendous affection for femininity because of its relationship with femininity. And he gets his understanding. Masculinity gets his understanding from femininity, the feminine source. And those who are still nurturing masculinity are complaining about how femininity is being seen, being viewed through the eye of masculinity. And the voices that refuse to see through the eye but keep looking through the eyes of masculinity are seeing something that is non-existent, and that is a masculine God, a masculine source of everything. Seeing through the eye is what gives us the authority to spiritualize this language. Everything we touch, everything we see, we are to spiritualize it. No longer can we look at it as though it is a bastardized language. We look at it as a source that is made available to us to change the speech of those whose language was confused at the Tower of Babel. Because the babbling is still taking place in religion, and the spiritualizing of the name bring the language into league with all other languages that speak the words that are aligned with Mayat. Here we are this evening, speaking the words that will spiritualize, that has spiritualized this language and has taken the power, the energy, the authority away from anyone who operates the collider, whose mindset is that it's going to be able to control anything in this earth. It will not. And this evening, the energy of change, the energy of balance, the energy of the energy of what? What am I looking for? The energy of spirituality is traveling through the chambers of these data centers, traveling through the chambers of this or collider, traveling through the minds of those who are standing against the continuation of these data centers. The energies that we are bringing forth this evening are the energies that goes before us in a spiritual way to make sure the way is clear, the way is made for those who are searching, those who are suffering, to open their eye and see the light of creation and open their ear to hear the love and mercy and desire of forgiveness and the desire for repentance with those who have traveled as we have so long in this road, in the way that has been laid by us, laid for us by masculinity. Repentance because we're bringing their memory back. Forgiveness because we don't want them to struggle at all. And we don't want them to have recriminations and feel guilty for it taking them this long to get there. We have been through the same thing. And we will not deal with that anymore because we are not going through anything. We are in the now. We are where we are supposed to be. We are not becoming. Our memory is becoming clearer. Our sight is becoming sharper. Our ears are becoming more sensitive. We are hearing, we are seeing, we are experiencing everything that we experienced from beginning. So this evening, I leave you with this. We are not trying to stop anything. We have done it. We are not trying to make a name. We already have character. And the character of our essence is one of integrity, love, kindness, mercy. And with that, I say Ashe.
Ashe.
Okay.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe.
So this ends our evening. Embrace it. Sit with it. Just sit with it. Go to your private space. If you don't have a private space, create one and just sit with it. Sit with the reality that now you have embraced who you are. Now you realize that not even a $10 billion machine can stop your words from creating for humanity. I'm done. Be well. Have a good evening. And we shall see you on Saturday.
Peace and love. Thank you.
Take care, family.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, family.
Bye.